So, but they were really good. They were, I mean, X Factor was really good. Simon was really, you know, there are a lot of people that have got a lot of you know, poor things to say about Simon. Legitimately, some are legitimate, some things, you know, but I can only speak for myself that that Sharon and Simon were great. They were great for me. So I can't knock them.
I've met Simon a few times, and I've always find, you know, I think with any successful person of that kind of level,
yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. I mean, how I started really in the industry was as a dancer, and I was a dancer many years ago. And one of my first jobs was dancing on the TV show The Hitman and Her.
Of course, I remember that.
Yeah, and Pete Waterman was the main man at that time.
Of course he was.
And he was the Simon Cowell of his day, and
was.
And the chart was full of PWL records, you know, and Simon and Pete are very similar in personality, and what I found very fast was the more successful person that you meet, the less time they have, really.
Yes.
And so to speed it on to a very quick story, I met Simon a few times, but one of the times I was in Midem in France, and I met Richard Branson.
Yes.
And I sat down with Richard Branson, and I was pestering the living bejesus out of this guy. I mean, I want to do record deals. I want to do this and do that, and you know, come on, and blah 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 blah. And he's in a bar, and he's in a social environment. We don't have a scheduled meeting. I've just seen him, and he's standing by himself, and I've just walked up to him and went, "Hi, Mr. Branson. You know, I'm such and such, and you don't know who I am, but obviously I know who you are." That type of thing. Yeah. But to be fair to the guy, initially he was a bit sharp with me, but he obviously liked my personality, and I was suited and booted at the time, and so he gave me a bit of time. Yeah. And he gave me this business card, and on his business card there was no telephone number, there was just an email address, and he said, "Send me what you've got, and I'll answer it." And so I went back to the office in Scotland, and I'm sitting there and I'm writing this email. I mean, I must have spent 3 days constructing this, you know, 40 paragraph email, complex issues of, you know, where I had things, the big business plan, etc.
I bet the fact that it's Richard Branson that you're sending it to made it even more
humongous,
expensive.
And so I sent him this email, and I got a reply saying one word, "No."
Oh.
And there wasn't even regards Richard Branson or anything like that. It was just no.
Oh, right.
And so I sent him another email. I was like, you know, I was quite angry at this point. I'm thinking, this guy's really rude. And so I sent him back another email, and I went, blah, 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 blah. I went, "Did you read the email?" And then I got another email back going, "Yes."
And that was it.
And I met him maybe 3 or 4 years after that point in time, and I asked him about that story. I said, "Listen, you know, but this time I've already done deals with the different labels and stuff, so I'm in a good place myself." But I've asked him. I said, "Listen, you know, what was the story with that email?" He went, "Do you think I've got the time to read 40 paragraphs?"
Right.
He said, "If you had kept that to one sentence," he said, "you would have got a better response." He said, "The fact that you went into that much detail, that much concept, that much thing," he said, "you know," he said, I blew it out of the water just before as soon as I saw how long the email was, I just went, no. And he said, because he said, you would be too difficult to work with. He said, I need people that respond fast and deliver. If you've not already thought about what you want to do, he said, then, you know, he said, if you need my input, if you need this, if you need that, then forget it. So
Wow.
and it taught me a lot about business, and it taught me a lot about how these people think. And I think
Right.
Simon is a bit in that category, isn't he?
Like
I mean,
that. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me, but still, I still think if you're going to accept a conversation with somebody, right?
Yeah.
You have to accept, you've got to accept the person. You've got to accept however they may decide to deliver a message. You either accept it or you say, listen, could you just do bullet points? Could you not just send a no bullet? If you go, sorry, Rory, bullet points only, boom, to the point. That's it.
Yeah.
That's only a few other, you're only pressing a couple of more buttons just to explain that you want it short, sharp, and simple. Do you know what I mean?
But see, I think that's the problem with the industry in general, is
Yeah.
that A&R people say no, we don't want to sign it. It's not for us.
Yeah.
I never accepted that. I would always say, well, if you don't mind, could you explain what you would accept?
Yeah.
And what's wrong with what you're currently listening to?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they would tell me where to go. But there was the odd time they would sit there and go, well, it's not bassy enough, or we don't like the hook line, or we don't like that little synthesizer thing there, or whatever it is. I go, well, I can change that.
Yeah.
I can
where
take
music
that
is concerned, it can be changed. Yeah, exactly. It can be changed.
But they don't have that conversation. And I think, kids listening to this really need to understand that if they're going to go out there and meet these kind of people, they've got to be pushy and bolshy enough to say, like, look, what is wrong with it? What can I do to make myself? So let's get back to your story. So your mum's struggling. You're about to go on stage. How do you walk on that stage? You say Sharon's great with you, Simon's great with you, but I mean, obviously, internally, you've got to get on the stage and sing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you in general, you forget about what has happened, what's happening outside of this bubble that you're in, every Saturday and Wednesday, and, whenever I'm not around my family. So I've got to put that aside and concentrate on the here and now, really. Do you know what I mean? And so if I'm in West Hampstead and I'm filming in West Hampstead, my focus is there. You know what I mean? If I'm performing on a Saturday night, my concentration is there. Because there's so much going on, whether it's to do with costumes or, lighting, or, I mean, there's so much involved with up to the week that you're, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right until, you do the next live show, And so I just didn't have time to think too much about what was happening with my mum and the fact that she's gone and all the rest of it. I didn't have time to really process it, and when I did, it took years for me to process the fact that I'll never see her again. And that's when really some of the really sad mental problems kind of happened.